Dior be embarking on a new chapter? A chapter without Maria Grazia Chiuri and with Jonathan Anderson. The rumour mill has been working overtime. It's been bubbling up with rumours about Jonathan Anderson leaving his role as creative director of Loewe and moving to Dior in the latest round of creative director musical chairs. Dior is one of the biggest fashion houses in the world. It is 78 years old, if I'm correct. I've done my maths right. And it's been an interesting one to watch. It's a brand with a lot of history, a lot of influence over luxury fashion. And so I wanted to sort of give a very brief recent history of the brand, what we've come to expect from Dior under Maria Grazia, and where Dior could go with Jonathan Anderson. Guys, if you are new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're probably going to love it here. So down there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. Following from a role at Valentino, Maria Grazia was announced as creative director of Dior in October of 2016. And she first showed her collection for fall-winter 2017, right? She took over from Raf Simons. Raf had been at Dior for 3.5 years, generally very well liked, critically acclaimed, very positive. Everybody loved Raf at Dior. Dior is one of those houses that they pump out X number of collections a year, right? So it's a lot to ask of one person. Anyway, it wasn't for him. He bowed out and Maria Grazia came in. She is the 7th creative director of Christian Dior and the first female creative director. I lied, her first show was Spring/Summer 2017 and it went off with a bang. It was so different from Raf's Dior and Dior as we had come to know it. She had a very different take on what the Dior woman looked like. Christian Dior as a brand popularised the new look, this very sort of hourglass silhouette with the famous bar jacket, and she sort of took that silhouette and re-energised it in her own way, in a very modern, a very Maria Grazia way, with these sort of t-shirts paired with fuller tulle midi skirts, right? If you were to look at these things separately, I really didn't make a correlation until I was like reading some articles and I was like, okay, she's sort of taken that silhouette and loosened it and maybe modernised it a little bit for the Dior woman through her lens. This was also the collection that debuted the We Are All Feminists t-shirt. This is a quote by Nigerian author and activist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Also the Dior Revolution t-shirts. There was a big focus, and this has been the core of Maria Grazia's Dior, which is feminism. A focus on the woman, the Dior woman, the different iterations of her, and it's something that is very apparent through all of her runway shows. There is a level of showmanship with her runway shows that I think you sort of have to have at a brand that big. There has to be a bit of a song and dance. She has been known to collaborate with a number of different global female artists and performers for these shows. But all this hasn't been taken very positively. She's been accused of cultural appropriation. In 2019, she had the Dior Cruise collection was inspired by the Escaramuzas, I think that's the correct pronunciation, female rodeo performers of Mexico. And this hasn't been the first time that the sort of topic of cultural appropriation has come up. As another example of Maria Grazia's sort of focus on the female gaze in her Dior, in an interview with The Guardian, they'd mentioned that she had a policy which was to only use female photographers for Dior's commercial projects. And I think in recent years as well, the sort of topic of conversation of creative directors or very wildly applauded creative directors in luxury fashion tend to be mostly male. And as one of the sort of few female creative directors, she has been very popular. Her collections are quite divisive and we're going to go into that, but you can't deny her impact on the Dior brand during the time that she's been there. From that first collection, it was a huge success. The t-shirts became incredibly popular from that first collection, and generally, I think that her commerciality, or how commercial her collections are, have been what has made her tenure at Dior very successful. It feels very wearable, it feels very easy. At times, though, this is also the criticism, because it also feels very repetitive and, dare I say, a little bit boring. But we're going to circle back to that. Either way, Dior's revenues between 2018 and 2023 have more than tripled, from an estimated 2.7 billion euros to 9 billion euros plus, according to HSBC. Under Maria Grazia, let's focus on the bags. These are some of the bags that she introduced. You've got the Dior book tote. This bag I could not get off of my Instagram feed for years, honestly. The book tote took luxury fashion by storm. It was so popular from the moment that it hit the shelves, and still to this day is a very, very popular Dior bag. She also reintroduced the Dior saddle bag, which had laid dormant, shockingly so, popularised by Sex and the City, amongst lots of other cultural moments. It was hibernating, and she woke the beast up from its sleep. And now, once again, that is deemed to be a Dior classic. She introduced the Dior Bobby bag, the Caro. Recently, there's been the Lady D Joy. I love that bag. I also recently found out, while doing research for this video, that was introduced actually in 2016 in one of the collections done by the design teams in the interim between Raf leaving and Maria Grazia coming into her role at Dior. And it just fell by the wayside, and then she reintroduced it, and oh my gosh, now we're all excited about it. It was before its time, it really was. And then more recently, she introduced the Lady 95.22 bag. Does anybody know how that bag is doing, performing? I've got no idea. I haven't heard much about it, and it's still around. Am I the oracle? No. I'm just saying, this are my observations. There have also been some bags that came and went during her time. The Jade Dior bag, the Dior Revolution, the Dior Addict bag, and the Dior Vibe, which should it have been created in the first place? No, I'm being bad. So why change? Why, if she has been commercially very successful, why is this the time? A recent report from HSBC, they did a report on sort of Dior and I think LVMH in general, and there is a quote that said, "Dior designs have become a bit stale and repetitive." Something that a lot of people online have been saying about Dior for a while. Like I said, it's very easy to wear, to the point that it's a bit boring, right? So people have been talking about this, people have been complaining online about Maria Grazia for years at this point. And, you know, her time is almost up. She will have been at the brand for about 8 years, if everything rings true and she does leave this year. The moment that I sort of thought that, yeah, okay, I thought that, you know, Dior just wasn't for me. I thought maybe I'm just not the Dior girl, right? And then fall winter 2022 happened, and I was like, ooh, this is a bit rough. This was the Miss Dior collection. That looks as though a angsty teenager took a Sharpie to very classically designed pieces and just wrote Miss Dior all over them. Yeah, it's not been great. So the rumour is that Maria Grazia is set to do her cruise show for Dior this year, and then after that, it will be announced that Jonathan Anderson is taking over, taking him away from his creative directorship role of Loewe. So, what might Dior under Northern Irish Jonathan Anderson look like? He is seemingly on a winning streak. Loewe is hotter than it's ever been as a brand. They dressed Rihanna for the Super Bowl. They did one of Beyoncé's most memorable tour outfits from her Renaissance tour. They have filled up best dressed spots on the Met Gala, doing mind-bending designs. And then on top of that, just when you thought Jonathan Anderson was the busiest man around, he took on more roles as the costume designer for Challengers and Queer, building up his IMDb profile and getting him signed to United Talent Agency as a costume designer. Loewe was always very well known for top quality, leather craftsmanship, all of that. But he really brought this incredibly fun novelty side to the brand that, whether or not it was wearable, it was fun, it was interesting, and it got you to think, how is that even possible? How have you done this, right? The innovation behind some of the pieces. Balloon heels. Heels made out of uninflated balloons. Isn't there a phobia for balloons? Sorry for that. Sorry if you've got that one. Inflatable, like Minnie Mouse-esque heels. Heels that go through a cracked egg. A dress made out of mother of pearl. A dress that looks like it's sort of the sodding Polly Pocket, and the way that it keeps its structure is insane. It's almost defying gravity. This time I'll try to... I've watched Wicked one too many times. You've got hoodies that look like they're computer generated and belong on roadblocks. I don't know anything about that game. Do they? I think they have characters. They would wear that, honestly. Aren't they buying the skins? Anyway, so he has made Loewe into the one to watch. People are excited to watch the shows. People are always like, what are they going to do next, right? And on top of that, it flows through into their social media strategy, which is Loewe is one of the few luxury brands that has an incredible personality on social media. They get it, they're on the trends, they don't take themselves too seriously. It's a great reflection of the brand and the brand's designs. They don't take themselves too seriously. J.W. Anderson doesn't take himself too seriously, as you can even see with his own brand, J.W. Anderson. How many times do I say Jonathan Anderson in this video? But it's not all about these sort of like over-the-top fun, bordering on ridiculous pieces. You've got these very beautiful gowns as well, and pieces and more wearable pieces. One gown that comes up in my mind is Aubrey Plaza wore this butter yellow silk column gown that almost looked like, what is that? I don't know. It just looks like a sort of sheet of satin with a pin through it. It's remarkable and interesting, and even something like that that feels so simple also feels not boring at all. You've got the wearability of Loewe's anagram jeans. Something as simple as a Loewe tank top with the anagram on it sparked a whole like, oh, logo tank top trend. That feels like, oh my gosh, like how is that anything to applaud? That's not design. Either way, it sodding worked. The bags. He introduced the Loewe puzzle bag, one of, if not the most popular Loewe bag possibly ever. The question is can he bring the impossible to Dior? Will they allow him enough leeway to do that? Dior is a much bigger brand than Loewe, and it feels like, therefore, you have a lot more to lose if you don't do it right. I can't even imagine the pressure of being a creative director of any of these big brands. As much as I run my mouth going, I don't like that, what an ugly pair of shoes, and what a terrible bag, I could never, right? And it must be incredible pressure. I hope that we see a little bit of cheekiness, even if it's not as much as Loewe, and because they're very different brands in their personalities. I hope that we sort of see this little bit of tongue-in-cheek and an interesting and a different take on Dior than what we're used to. Another layer to this is Kim Jones is the current creative director of Dior Men's. He's been, as far as I'm aware, very successful at that. You've had the Dior rumour collaborations, you've had the Dior Jordan collaboration. That was like an insane historical sort of like fashion moment, that how can Dior, this sort of very revered and stuffy French fashion house, partner with a relatively young streetwear brand like Jordan, one of the most highly sought after pairs of trainers of all time. I'm not a sneakerhead, so I'm just waving that term around, but I would put money on it, I would. Does that mean that Kim's out of a job? Does that mean that Jonathan Anderson will do both women's wear and menswear, which means he has more sort of creative freedom between the two? I feel like Dior menswear and women's wear are treated very differently. Those collections don't really overlap. Same thing with like Louis Vuitton, same thing with, no, Fendi's a bit more cohesive. Anyway, so is that going to happen? Unclear. I also love how I've done this whole video and they could turn around tomorrow or in a few months and go, oh, actually it's Pier Paolo going to Dior. And I've just decided to go ahead and do this video. But that is the joys of luxury fashion. It can turn around and do a 180 on you at any moment. But Jonathan Anderson, I think he has a strong record of bags. As we know, accessories is where these brands really want to make the money, right? Well, what's the it bag and what's the it shoe? I hope that he's able to bring an it shoe to Dior because it's been a very long time since we've had one. The only one I can think of is like, is it the Dior pump with the sling back? That was really the last time that everybody was like running after a Dior shoe. Am I right? I think I'm right. Bags, we've had some pop off, you know, semi-recently and all of that. So he's going to have to take his track record into the it bag, into the it shoes. Ready to wear, I think he's going to kill it. I think it's going to be interesting. I think that we're going to see maybe exaggerated versions of the bar jacket, mind-bending craftsmanship and all of that. Craftsmanship is something that I think also he's very good at highlighting. Just even with what he posts on his social media, where you see the behind the scenes of how things are made and all of that for Loewe currently. And with Dior currently being investigated, one of their Italian factories being investigated as having poor labour practices, I think highlighting those things reputationally should have a positive impact, right? I think people also, consumers want to see value. They want to see, right, you're charging a lot for things, but what am I getting out of it? And I think, again, that's where craftsmanship comes in. So I kind of feel I have faith. But you know what? I think I'm generally quite an optimistic person. And I hope that he's able to really push the boundaries of what we have come to know Dior as a little bit more. What do you think? Are you excited about this? Nothing has officially been confirmed, but I would say from the sniffings I've done around the internet, everybody's talking like it's happening. So there we go. What are your thoughts? I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye, guys.